Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. Today's video, I want to make sure that you guys come away from watching this video feeling a bit more comfortable with how you guys want to approach fusions. Hopefully some tips and strategies in this video will apply to you guys and will increase the likelihood that you guys will be able to complete any fusion you guys set your minds to and prepare for. But before we jump into that, I want to go over the giveaway winners for the 5th anniversary video that I dropped about 2 weeks ago. It's a bit of a bigger prize pack. I believe there's a legendary book and a 5-star chicken. So I'm going to drop those winners on the screen right now. All right, so these are the 5 winners for the 5 reasons I raid 5th anniversary video, prize pack, legendary book, 5-star chicken, and some other stuff coming your way, guys. Let me know in a future video when you guys receive the rewards. That'd be greatly appreciated. If you guys don't receive it, let me know and I will contact the managers to make sure you guys get the rewards. Congratulations and thank you guys so much, everybody, for participating. There was a ton of participation, so the odds were against you guys, but keep on participating and you guys will get your shot in the future giveaways. So let's jump into the video where we're talking about how to prepare for future fusions. So I think for this video, I'm going to use a fragment fusion as a general baseline of what a fusion actually looks like. There's obviously going to be more than just fragment fusions. There's things called traditional fusions, which basically means you collect rares, level them up, build epics, level them up, and then fuse those epics into the legendary fusion. There's also something called a hybrid fusion, which is basically collecting fragments to build epics, which then you level up and then you fuse those epics into the champion. They both have different, all different types of fusions have different kinds of little bit of characteristics to them that we don't really want to discuss too much in this. It does make some harder and some less harder because there's more things to keep track of. But for the sake of simplicity and as kind of like the first entryway into starting fusions, I'm going to talk more about fragment fusions. And let's talk about the most recent fragment fusion, which was the Valentine's Day fusion for White Queen and Cora. So I have the fusion plan here just to give us a visual of how a typical fragment fusion, or at least a recent fragment fusion, actually looks like. I'm also going to put a little checklist of things we should look out for when trying to do fusions in the top left-hand corner here, just so we can keep track of everything and give you guys, again, a visual of what everything looks like. Okay, so first, let's start with kind of prerequisites or baseline requirements to who should even start to do a fusion. So this video is mostly going to be catered towards players that are mostly free to play, low spender, or very early in the game. Perhaps this is the first fusion you guys are trying to attempt. And I think with how the fusions have been going lately, they have been starting to become very good. For example, White Queen was very good. Arm Hands was basically, indispensably good. You must got Arm Hands. And then the upcoming Dream Song champion is actually pretty decent as well. So all these fusions have become, relatively good, and definitely for a low spend free to play player, you need these fusions to bolster your roster. It doesn't matter what stage of the game you are, because first of all, getting legendaries is always a good thing because it helps you grow your faction guardians in the late game. But you can always find a use for these characters, so getting fusions is always a good thing. So let's start with what you need to have to be able to even consider starting a fusion. So let's jump into that. So first things first, you kind of need to be able to do some dungeons. So for dungeons, you're looking at, I would recommend at least being able to farm stage 16 on most of the stages relatively easily. And I say relatively easily, if you're doing 7-minute runs on stage 16, that's kind of not really easy anymore. But of course, if you can do stage 13 with much easier time or much quicker time, you can probably make it happen. If you have overwhelming amount of energy or gems, or maybe you're a big spender, that can kind of compensate it. But you're looking for at least the mid-tier dungeons to be competitive, at least finish some of the events in with reasonable energy spend, for example. Similarly, you're probably looking to go in at least gold tier arena. If you're not in the highest tier, you basically get less points as you're doing the arena events, but you can compensate it with more gem spending. So if you have lots of gems, like I said, if you're a spender, you should be able to compensate. You just be doing more fights at a lower level, so that's not a huge issue. But make sure you guys are at least in a decent level of arena, so you guys can farm up points more efficiently without spending too many gems there. Also, guys, we're talking about silver. I recommend you guys at least have a little bit of silver to start any fusion. You know, silver has been getting you know, more and more expensive per fusion, so you definitely want to start with some. Don't start with none. For example, if you're going to start a fusion with 1 million, you're going to be in tough unless you have serious energy or gems or ways to make silver, like the forge, or you're going to gear cleanse your entire inventory. But silver is a big thing you guys need to start off the fusion with, so you need at least a little bit there. Lastly, the most important one probably is shards. So you definitely need some shards going into any fusion. Whatever fusion it is, it's going to have shard requirements. So if you have 0 shards, you probably should not consider going for any fusion. And if you want to plan on going for a fusion, you should definitely try to conserve your shards. How many shards we're going to go over later on in this video, but you definitely need some shards to even consider going into any fusion at all. And on that same thought pattern, you also could have fragment fusions as well, or things to pull or things to fuse, like Broad Maul or Relic Keeper, for example. So those also help. Remnant summons also help if you have any of those as well. Anything to help along with either shards or champion summons, those would be definitely useful before you start fusion. Alright guys, so let's say you have some of those requirements met. Let's see the specifics on what you actually need to actually be able to complete these fusions with relative consistency. Okay, so first things first, let's talk about energy spend. Okay, so each one of these tournament dungeons, so these dungeon tournaments, they cost between it depends which level you're doing. So if you want to be maximum efficient with energy spend, you're going to be farming stage 20. If you can't do stage 20, you're going to do stage 16. After stage 20, you're looking at stage 24, and then you're looking at hard 10. Those are basically the most efficient in terms of energy. Obviously, if you can farm hard 10 and you want gear, energy is no expense to you, then obviously you're going to farm hard 10. Hard 10 is going to be, you know, you're going to be spending quite a bit more energy to get the chance at quality gear. But let's say you're trying to be as efficient as possible, okay? So you're farming stage 20. It costs about 2,000 energy per one of these dungeon tournaments to basically complete. And we have 3 of them, right? So we have one here, we have the spider one, we have the dragon one. We have 4 of them. We have 4 of them. So 4 of these tournaments. And so that gives us a total of 8,000 energy from dungeons. All right. So in that same kind of thought, we have to consider dungeon divers. Okay. So the dungeon diver, generally the dungeon divers has been about 3,700 points to complete the dungeon diver for a standard 3-day one. 3,700 divers points typically takes about 5,000 or just slightly less than 5,000 if you're doing stage 20. So for the sake of that, we're going to say we're doing stage 20, so that's going to be 5,000 energy for these dungeon divers. Okay. And typically we have 3 of them. So we got 3 of them going on. 1, 2, this fusion, we only had 2, which is a pretty big thing. But very frequently, we actually have a 3rd one here. So let's say we allot for 3 dungeon divers. So that's going to be 15,000 total energy spend just for the dungeon divers, okay? So where we can save energy is basically when we can overlap overlap the dungeon tournaments into the dungeon divers. That would be ideal. Let's say for sake of ease, all your tournaments lined into dungeon divers, nice and neat. So in total, you're actually only looking at 15,000 energy for your dungeon divers that will complete all of your dungeon tournaments. And keep in mind, this is over a period of about 2 weeks or roughly that. Sometimes it's a little bit 1 or 2 days more, sometimes 1 or 2 days less, but it's roughly about 2 weeks. All right, and then you factor in how much energy you get by doing your dailies. So doing your dailies, you get the 3 energy pots, and then you get the 50 small energy. So about 440 energy per day from doing dailies. Of course, there's going to be some days where you're going to get an extra 50 energy because you're not going to get the extra gray Doom Tower keys, for example. You're also going to get some inbox energy, which you get, I believe, every other day from the shop here. So for example, the small pack that shows up here every day, you're either going to get an energy pot or you're going to get some charms. All right, so your daily activity is actually going to give you just over 6,000 energy that you can use towards this fusion, obviously during the fusion. So you got to make sure that you allocate your energy from your dailies towards events that you're trying to complete in your fusion. So that's one of the big things. Of course, it's not always possible. Some schedules aren't very cooperative. But we're going to try our best to use your daily energy towards some kind of event or tournament that goes towards your fusion. So that's about 6,000 energy that you got covered there. Also, if you actually are very diligent about using your regenerated energy that you get every day, you get about 480 energy per day. And over a 2-week period, that's 6,720 energy you get from regen. So this is energy that you use towards your events and tournaments and your fusion, of course, right? So you can see now that just from dailies and general regenerated energy, you're getting pretty close to the roughly 15,000 energy that is required for the usually three dungeon diver tournaments. So an extra 3,000 energy, I mean, that's going to come from maybe like 1,000 gems roughly. But of course, you're also picking up energy from events, rewards. You're also getting energy from other areas, like for example, clan shop. You have 2 weeks. You have 2 chances at getting clan shop energy. So if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, clan shop energy, like for example here, you also can pick up energy from things like the tag team shop. Again, you have 2 weeks to try to get some extra 300 energy there. You also have stuff like that I didn't factor in, like the weekly energy, so extra couple pots here, monthly energy. And we're not even talking about things like energy that you save from your stash, right? So for example, myself, for this upcoming fusion, I haven't been able to save up too much because I have been going hard for the Arman's 5-star Titan event, which required quite a bit of energy. So I used up my saved up energy towards the Arman's Titan event. However, I did save my CBC winnings, so I did win a big chunk of energy. So I'm going to save that for the start of fusion if I can. And I do have like 1 or 2 pots here hanging around. I got 1 pot here. But basically, if you were managing to save up your pots, you should be able to offset some of the difference between what you need and what you can make just from doing your dailies and your regenerated energy. Of course, not everyone can play basically non-stop every day. So if you can't do that, you're basically looking at replenishing your energy needs through gems, or of course buying energy, for example, if you're a spender, for example, right? But it also gives you an idea of how much energy you actually need to save in advance. So for example, if you're one of those players that wants to not worry about the regenerated energy and just bank energy towards your fusions, you guys can kind of see how much energy you are missing out on and how much energy you actually need. So unless you have a significant amount of energy, you can't really sit back and just rely on your stash of energy to complete these fusions anymore. They're actually, you know, obviously quite difficult. So I've seen some people sit back and say, like, they have 5,000 energy, for example, like banked up here, and they think they're good. I mean, you're good for maybe like, you know, a couple days, and then you'll probably run out unless you keep up your playtime, right? If you don't keep up your playtime, you're not going to be good. All right, so that's the energy component of fusions. But this is strictly from a dungeon diving, dungeon area for energy. Like if you're using energy for champion training, like that's another additional energy cost. Generally, I rarely use energy for champion training because I use my brews. So the brews here are actually awesome because you collect them kind of whatever. You just collect them throughout the game. You don't really use them in any situation. But in fusions, when you use the brews, they instantly become a currency for you because they save you energy. They save you gems, they save you energy. Brews have no value in this game other than training. There's no reason to save your brews other than to use them for training. You can use energy and gems towards other things, lots of different things that brews can't help you in. Brews can't help you get dungeon diver points, for example, right? But brews can help you train. So when there is a training tournament, I don't shy away from using brews. There's obviously going to be strategies on how to maximize your points during training. For example, like you can have this. You can feed them a couple brews to get the easy points, for example, right? I don't want to go over like training strategies here, but this is a kind of like a simple basic strategy where you kind of feed them a couple brews before feeding them off. So for example, if you have like a 4-star champion, you give them some brews. Usually I go 56,000. I give them 8 brews. I get some easy levels, get some easy points, and then I feed them off for my to upgrade my next champion. So that's kind of like the easy way to do champion training, just strictly with brews. If you have to use energy to use campaign to level them up, then you're going to have to add on additional energy into the 15,000 that we've allotted for this fusion already. Now, keep in mind when you're doing champion training, you still need some food leveled up. For example, you still need some, you still need some stuff like ready to be leveled. Like 40s, for example, you still need like some 40s, you still need some 30s, some 20s, and then you can level them up during champion training. The way you build up these champions is basically in your downtime between fusions. So if you have like daily energy, for example, you can use them towards campaign, you can gear up, you can level up some food this way. If you have champions that can solo farm some dungeons, that'll be very helpful to always build up some food that way. That's usually what I do when I have some spare energy or I don't have a meaningful event to deal with. I basically just make food, stock up my stash a little bit, and prepare for that. If you don't have a good stash of food ready for a fusion, you can basically offset this by having some gems. So to wrap up the training tournament, so for the training tournament, you actually get some points also for books and for ascending your champion. So that's another thing that you guys could do for additional points. For the training event, for example, you don't get points for books or ascending. So make sure you guys keep that in mind. Make sure you guys know which one you guys are putting your books, when you guys are putting your books in. Make sure you guys are in the right training event or tournament. Usually there's going to be one training event, one training tournament per fusion. In the Ancora fusion, it was actually part of this Hero's Path. So Plarium has been kind of sneaky. The last couple fusions, they've been sticking a Hero's Path in some of the fusions. It will incorporate usually 2 different events, and then it will give you a pretty nice prize at the end of it. Lately, it's been like 5-star souls or additional or different champions or a brand new champion, for example. you have to make sure that you guys keep your eye on the prize and know exactly what you guys are going after, right? If there's fragments there, you got to go for the fragments and then get out. Unless you have the extra resources to go deeper, then by all means, but make sure you guys get the minimum and then get out. And yeah, just to wrap up the whole training event requirements, like I said, you guys are looking at maybe about 2,500 energy in campaign farming to get the required fragments per event. If you guys don't want to use energy, you guys can use the brews, but then that requires you guys to have food available in your inventory, whether it be ready to level up or ready to be brewed up. So usually I like to hold back maybe like 300 or 400 brews in my inventory just to make sure it's enough. I usually don't use 300 to 400, but 300 to 400 is a very comfortable number for me, so I'm going to just leave that here. As a note, 300 to 400 brews, good. Okay, that's going to be like, you're good if you have that and you have the food available in your inventory. If you don't have the food, you're going to have to pull some shards or build up some champions, maybe like 1-star, 2-star, and that's going to take some energy. So I'm going to put ore, let's say 2,500 energy roughly, x2. Okay, so about 5,000 energy. If you guys have brews and inventory, you guys don't worry about the energy. So between 15,000 from the dungeon diver energy plus the 5,000 from the training event, 20,000 total energy over 2 weeks. Okay, guys. So that's kind of what you're looking at. All right. So the big thing next I want to talk about is actually the shards. The shards is probably the biggest gateway barrier to most people. They can't get through the shard requirement. So what you guys need to realize is that yes, every fusion requires shards. If you have no shards going in, there's basically no conversation. Unless there's a way to bypass one of the shard events, which is possible, not always a given. Plarium sometimes allows in a fusion skippable amount of fragments. Sometimes there's no skippable fragments. Sometimes there's a little bit of skippable fragments. In the event that there is a way to skip one of these summon events, you might be in luck. Okay, so, but I'm going to describe a situation where you guys cannot skip either of the events, so you guys are fully prepared on what each event usually has for you. So for the summon rush here, to get both fragments, it's usually about 6 sacreds worth. 6 sacreds, okay? It's usually about 3,000-ish points. Not always 3,000-ish, but about 3,000-ish points. And about 6 sacreds there, roughly. All right. And then usually for the champion chase, about 2,500 points. So 2,500 points. So if you guys don't know how the point structure works, it's 250 for one epic, it's 10 points for a rare, it's 500 for a legendary, and these are points allocated to champions that you acquire from any avenue. You guys can pull them. So this is one part in the chase where having fragments ready to pull is actually very nice, right? So for example, I can pull Chromax here for an easy 500 points during my champion chase. And this is one of the reasons why I hold on to some of these, because you never know when I need to like fully conserve my shards and then just pull some of these legendaries and I'll get my champion chase completely done. The other way to do champion chase relatively easily is actually with mystery shards. So mystery shards, they give you 1 point for a 1-star or 2-star, but they do give you 10 points for a rare. And if you pull enough of these, you can actually make pretty quick work of champion chase. So make sure you guys hold on to your mystery shards. You usually get mystery shards from, for example, farming the market. I always check my market every hour, buy the mystery shard. You can slowly stack them up. You get mystery shards from doing campaign, not nightmare campaign, but anything other than nightmare, you do get chances at mystery shards. So make sure you guys use the mystery shards for champion chase. However, for the summon rush events, sacred shards hold the most value. They hold 500 point value. That's why if you have sacred shards, save them for this event, because that is where sacred shards give you the most value back. Okay, guys? So six sacred shards here, and then 2,500 worth of points here. in a champion chase. Again, for champion chase, another tip is to use broad maws. If you can save some of these void rares, if you guys don't need the extra parts, fuse them up into broad maw. Broad maw is worth 350 points by himself. You can fuse him infinite amount, so you guys can easily do champion chase in the future. Just hold on to some of these rares. It help you guys out in the champion chase. If you guys have fragments, any kind of fragment fusion that you completed in the past, save these for champion chase if you're not desperate need for them. All right, so it's going to be heavy. It's going to be a little bit difficult, especially starting out. But those are what you kind of need, right? In terms of shards. So 6 sacreds, you're probably looking at least 1,000 mysteries. If you want to go to mystery route, frags, broad maul, you're looking at that route. If you have ancients, that might actually be useful for champion chase as well. So ancients are pretty good value for champion chase because, you know, they're a smaller shard that have a chance to get something big. So for example, even pulling an epic from a ancient shard is actually worth quite a bit for champion chase tournaments. So if you have ancients, it's not a bad opportunity to use them there. But of course, you know, saving shards takes discipline, right? It takes discipline, it takes time. In the event that you actually need shards, you can actually use gems to buy shards. So in the rare instance where you need shards, you can buy, you can buy 11 shards for 900 gems. You know, it might not be the best use of gems, but if you need it, then you have to do it. You can also get points by actually buying some of these 1 stars. Like or 2-star champions from the market. They don't give you much, but they do give you some. So that's another avenue you guys can explore. You also get champions by farming campaigns. So whenever you get a champion as a reward instead of like gear or shards, that will count towards champion chase points. So champion chase is just more flexible to complete, whereas the summon rush is just more difficult. This one is going to gate you off if you just have no shards at all. Quick comment about the arena tournament. So I did touch upon this earlier, but you're basically looking at trying to be as high tier as you can in arena. And like I said, if you are not in a very high tier, you can make it up with just gems. So this will help you out, help you conserve some gems if you're actually higher up in the arenas. For example, for me, it takes me about 30 or 40 wins, and then I'll have enough to basically get whatever fragment is needed from the event. Also, saving up some of the arena tokens, for example, could be useful. Although they have pretty fast shelf life, you could also conserve some of the tokens, for example, in Central City. I'm in normal Central City, for example, and this is like the 4th level. So a level like this, you can easily conserve for like arena specific tournaments. Or for example, if you have energy in Centranos, you can conserve that as well for additional energy stores. I mean, yeah, so that probably help you guys out for the arena portion. But yeah, you can offset being low tier with some extra gems, for example, extra token bags. So that takes care of the arena. That's one of the easier tournaments, events, for example, to complete in a fusion. Let's see. Lastly, let's talk about the artifact enhancement events. So lately, there's been 3 artifact enhancement events. I think this has been going on for maybe a year and a half now. So these are really kind of painful for a lot of people. But I would suggest you start any fusion with at least 10 million. At least 10 million. And that's not like going in with absolutely nothing and 10 million. I'm talking like 10 million and still have things to tap into. Like the Forge. Like the Forge, for example, you can still tap into for to sell stuff, sell bad gear, for example. You need gear to sell like in your inventory from your accessories. If you have additional resources there, you can definitely sell it off for some silver. Additionally, you can use the clan shop for silver if you're really desperate. Some people, they just end up with a lot of clan points, and then they can actually use it for some silver in a pinch. But when you're looking at 3 of these artifact enhancement events, each one of these events takes roughly 20 million silver to complete if you're planning to roll it up all the way. You know, there's no real way to conserve big silver on these events. There is one way. It's the airplane mode or offline trick. It takes forever, but it does save you a significant amount of silver. Personally, I've done it once back in the day, and I've never done it again because it's way too time consuming, but it does save you silver. If you have absolutely no silver, and this is the only way to do it, it might be the way you do it. You guys can check it out. I think there's lots of videos on it. I haven't done a video personally myself, but it's basically like the I don't know, I think people call it like a silver roll hack or airplane hack or something. But it's a super tedious method, but it will save you a little bit of silver. But otherwise, it's going to be 20 million silver each. Keep in mind that you will be making silver throughout the entire tournament, farming campaign, farming dungeons, selling off gear and all that stuff. So you will be making some silver. So you won't be needing 60 flat going in. You will be accumulating silver over 2 weeks. But keep in mind, you guys will need at least a little bit to start, to get you guys started, to get you guys going. Okay, guys? All right, guys. So I think I covered everything that's needed to complete every one of these events for, you know, just a typical fragment fusion. A lot of it will come down to your planning. So if you guys are not, you know, very good at planning yourself, make sure you guys check out the videos coming up just before fusion. There's a lot of good content creators out there that just create like, you know, plans and help you guys get ideas on what you guys need to do and things to look out for. I mean, I drop some fusion plans on my video every fusion. I think it really helps some people, and it actually helps myself to just visualize what's going to happen. And then it's always good to get feedback from everybody, because it's like you get more eyes on something, you get more brains on something. You guys are going to figure something out that maybe someone doesn't know. So don't go at it by yourself. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. So planning is a big thing. Obviously your own playtime, that's a big thing. I listed here to start with 1,500 to 2,000 gems. I think that's a comfortable number where if you tap into it, it's okay. But for me personally, I've started fusions with no gems before, 500 gems, and it's perfectly fine, because for me, as you're playing the game, as you're farming every day, you're accumulating a little bit of gems and resources. This list is basically a list that shows you what you kind of need to do the fusion, but it doesn't really show you what you accumulate every day. So it doesn't really show you the event rewards. It doesn't show you like clan boss rewards. It doesn't show you, you know, your weekly, monthly rewards or things like that, right? So you're going to be accumulating some extra stuff. But if you have the necessary minimums to start the fusion, you should be fine as long as you keep up your daily activity. Like for me personally, I can farm any stage, and I have no issues, you know, being net positive on things like gems, right? As long as you have the big requirement, which is basically shards, you can kind of basically come out of most fusions kind of net even for the most part. I'm very efficient with my daily energies. So you can see here the dailies and the daily regen energy almost cover dungeon diver requirements for energy, almost. So that means I have to dig into some rewards and inbox energy, for example. And in rare cases, I will dig into some gems to make my life easier. With that being said, if it makes your life being easier, and you guys are light spenders, get the monthly gem pack. That's an extra 2,000 gems. Every time you get the monthly gem pack, you save those gems, you're ready for a fusion, as long as you hit the shard requirements. All right, folks, that's going to be it for the video today. Hopefully this guide was a little bit helpful for you guys, gave you guys some ideas on how you guys can approach your next upcoming fusion, how you guys can properly prepare for it. I think I covered most of the events with enough detail to get you guys started, at least provide you guys with the minimum to walk into a fusion and feel relatively comfortable that you guys will complete it. If you guys are just starting off in the game, a fusion might not be the best for you. Like I said, you need to have certain progress in place to give yourself the best chance at completing a fusion. If you do not feel comfortable participating in a fusion, I would suggest you sit it out so that you can conserve your resources and not spend it on a half fusion, for example, and waste resources that way. Anyways, guys, thanks a lot for watching the video. Let me know in the comments below if you guys have any specific tips that maybe I've missed in this video. I know there's lots to cover in these type of fusion prep videos. You could have a video on each event and how to actually tackle these events. But yeah, we have a upcoming fusion coming up. Make sure you guys pay attention to the notifications and the new videos that I'll be dropping off on this channel. I will be doing a fusion prep for the upcoming Dream Song Champion. And hopefully I'll see you guys back here for that one. Anyways, guys, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.